Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Old Wu, who was called by Chen Ming, quickly went to the sentry again. Because he was busy with various needs on Chen Ming's side, his whole spirit and energy looked much better than before. However, his habit did not change. After getting on the ship, he ran to the captain's room as soon as possible, sat on the chair, crossed his legs and asked, "Xiao Ming, what's the matter this time?" Chen Ming did not rush to explain the matter, but said, "No hurry, tell me the bad news first. I will leave my original position and go to the galaxy within the galaxy soon. I can't change Yu Hui's sudden arrangement. This news must be sent out for me, so as not to let the company come back empty-handed. Because of this, I may be a little short of time later, so I will try some new things now while I have the last bit of time." "Oh." Old Wu nodded and asked, "You said Yu Hui will send you to a new place? Where is it?" As soon as the words fell, Old Wu saw a star map displayed on the control panel in front of him, with a galaxy marked on it. "Here? Okay, but why did they suddenly move you to another place?" Chen Ming responded, "It's not sudden, it's a matter of time. The place I was in before was just where Yu Hui temporarily placed me. They must send me to a place with tighter security and more technical equipment. I've thought about it before, but I'm still a little reluctant at this time." Old Wu asked with some doubt, "What's there to be reluctant about?" "I'm a little reluctant to give up the technology, materials, and environment. Yui gave me 2 tachyon spears for experiments, and more than that. To be honest, it's hard to do it. I feel a little embarrassed to have cheated Yui too much. The speed spear, that's really awesome, but I heard you blew up one of Yui's mining sites? You call that embarrassing? You can't say that. I felt very sad when I cheated." Old Wu said casually, "What's there to be sad about? It's been so many years since Yu Hui defected from humans. How many people have died in the wars every year? If you don't count the other people far away, then what about the people nearby? Didn't you encounter 2 attacks from Yu Hui a while ago? They didn't show mercy to you at that time, and you were almost killed. What's sad about you?" "That's right." Old Wu, who thought Chen Ming was just talking nonsense, suddenly seemed to realize something and asked hurriedly, "Are you serious? Do you really feel this way?" Chen Ming did not lie and said honestly, "A little bit." "Good fellow, you are being PUA. Just give you some benefits and you are like this? Wait, how old are you?" 25. "I said it." Old Wu suddenly said in an old-fashioned way, "Xiao Ming, you are still too young and have little experience. I looked at your resume before, and it seems that you have been studying hard and working hard all the way to get promoted to that. It should be the maintenance team leader, right?" "Yes. So, if you know more about the ways of the world, learn to flatter, read people's expressions, and set traps for your colleagues, wouldn't your skills have been upgraded long ago? Why are you still a small team leader here? You are still upset because you cheated Yu Hui? What are you thinking? You should know that Yu Hui is very smart. They will make a lot of money if you have this idea in your mind. If they treat you better in the future, will you still feel uncomfortable? If you feel uncomfortable one day, you will not want to cheat them anymore. Wouldn't that be bad?" Chen Ming thought about it carefully and found that it was really like what Lao Wu said. Of course, Chen Ming was not referring to the bunch of little tricks in the workplace that Lao Wu said. Even if Chen Ming wanted to learn these things, he could definitely learn them, but he didn't want to learn them, and there was no special reason, he just didn't want to learn them. And he also had a feeling that if he really learned them, his interpersonal relationships would definitely be quite different from now. So Chen Ming just skipped over what Old Wu said. The key point was what Old Wu said about Yu Hui's behavior, and the background that Yu Hui and Chen Ming, who was a human, would inevitably conflict. The conflict between Yu Hui and humans has been accumulating for a long time, and Chen Ming can never ease it by just communicating with Yu Hui normally. But there is a way to resolve the conflict between Yu Hui and humans, but this method is more difficult. So even if Chen Ming is doing this to a certain extent now, he dare not guarantee that he can do it. But after Old Wu said this, Chen Ming suddenly became more confused. What did Hui Huang mean by those words? Who did Hui Huang believe in? What was it? Forget it. At least Old Wu's words made Chen Ming completely let go of the psychological barriers that suddenly emerged in his heart before, and he could continue to trick Yu Hui without any burden. After Old Wu reminded him, he didn't say much and asked again along the lines of what Chen Ming had just said. So what are you going to try this time? It is likely that you asked me to come here because of your psychic power? Almost, but not only that. The experiment can be put aside for now. I have something else to tell you. About my fleet and pirates. Chen Ming's current fleet prototype has been built. The 2 Centurions that he asked Lao Wu to help by have already stopped at the pirate space station. Storm and Gladiator were also sent back here by Chen Ming a few days ago. There is also a refraction, which is also on its way back. According to Chen Ming's previous arrangement, refraction has been in hundreds of galaxies within a 50 light-year diameter area outside the buffer zone of the Afterglow mechanical clan. Based on the possibility of habitable planets on stars, most galaxies have been run through. After a simple scan, the number of confirmed valuable galaxies can only be said to be very small. There are only 6 in total. There are planets with life in 2 galaxies. One of them is a habitable planet, and the other has toxic components in its atmosphere, which is not habitable, but the existence of life is already valuable enough. Among the other 4 star systems, 3 of them have open-pit mineral veins discovered by Chu Guang on the surface of the planets in the star system, and they are all high-value mineral veins such as tungsten, titanium, nickel, and cobalt. The last one is very special. It is also a habitable planet, and there are no toxic components in the atmosphere. But there are some things on it, which are similar to the mechanical mind pulse generators that Chen Ming has seen before in some mechanical-style buildings. And they are not ruins, but they are still intact when Chu Guang discovered them, and they are likely to be dormant equipment. Chen Ming is not sure whether there are mechanical people in these buildings, but anyway, he did not let Chu Guang get too close, just recorded them and investigated them later. Of course, these valuable star systems are just the results of Chu Guang's simple scan. There must be more than what Chen Ming scanned in these star systems, and there must be other things. And Chen Ming did not scan those gas or ice giant planets because they were too dangerous. So when Chen Ming has an exploration ship with detailed scanning capabilities, he will go back and take a look, and he should be able to find more valuable planets. Of course, it is definitely not possible now, and the results of the planet scan have nothing to do with Lao Wu. The key point now is that Chu Guang has returned after the scan is completed. And before, Chen Ming got Chu Guang a spacecraft identification code through the factory director, so that he can move properly within the Empire. Of course, Chu Guang's weapons make it difficult for him to enter the prosperous star field. But the number of pirates in the prosperous star field is obviously not as good as that in the marginal star field, and Chen Ming has no idea of the past. In short, Chen Ming now has 5 ships, which can be called a small fleet. With a fleet, he will naturally go to find trouble with pirates. After learning Chen Ming's purpose, Lao Wu immediately reacted and said, "Pirates, you told me before. I helped you check it. But pirates are all living people. If the time interval is too long, I don't know where they have gone. If you need it, I can help you find all the bounties nearby." Okay, I'll tell you now, it should be in the next few days. It just so happens that Chu Guang needs time to go back, and Chen Ming is not in a hurry. He believed that Old Wu would help him find the pirates. Then there was another thing. The ability experiment. Let's go outside. This experiment cannot be avoided by other people. Old Wu stood up and stretched his hands and feet, and walked down the sentinel. Chen Ming switched his view to the storm parked next to him, and checked the sentinel through the storm's camera. Chen Ming's eyes first swept around the surroundings, and he could see that around the corner of the repair shop where his several ships were parked, an extra layer of partitions was added to separate this place from other places in the repair shop that could be rented out. I don't know if it was the idea of the factory director or other people in the company. Chen Ming took a few more glances and then retracted his gaze. At the same time, he opened the panel of the Sentinel, as well as the panel of the Weiguang that Chen Ming had placed in the dark cemetery for a long time. Chen Ming had finished reading the technical books given by Yu Hui that used Weiguang as a teaching blueprint a few days ago. Accordingly, in addition to learning those technologies, he also mastered the blueprint of Weiguang. As long as Chen Ming is given enough equipment and materials, he can build a new Weiguang on the spot. So Chen Ming plans to give it a try. Of course not through equipment, but through his panel ability. Although Chen Ming's high-intensity work every day during this period consumed his mental power, and he was also relying on the falsehood stone to exercise his mental power increased again, and the number of controllable spaceships on the panel increased to 4. But the manufacturing function still did not appear on the panel. So Chen Ming's idea was to find another way. Risking the loss of a Weiguang, he transformed the Sentinel into a Weiguang through the transformation function. Chen Ming could afford this loss, and this idea is feasible. As Chen Ming's study of various technologies deepened, many things that were not there before gradually appeared on the modification panel. Chen Ming can now modify the entire spacecraft. From the cabins and sections of the spacecraft to the details of every corner of the spacecraft, and even the angle of a certain section of the radiation energy pipeline, Chen Ming can modify it. When Chen Ming transformed all parts of a ship into the shape of the Afterglow spacecraft. This ship is the Afterglow ship. After Lao Wu left the Sentinel for a distance, Chen Ming began. He first dismantled the glimmer that had not been used since it was obtained until today, and turned it into neat materials. And under his active control, it appeared in the storage cabin of the mule parked in the maintenance plant. These materials did not stay for too long, and soon turned into liquid and aggregated together, seeping out of the ship, flowing under Lao Wu's feet, and flowing to the Sentinel. Seeing this, Lao Wu squatted down and reached out to hold a handful, but these metal liquids slipped from his hands in an instant like weightless water. These liquids completely wrapped the Sentinel, and the structure of the Sentinel itself was completely squeezed out and piled up next to it. This transformation lasted about 30 seconds, much faster than the 5 minutes that Chen Ming pretended to take in front of Yu Hui before. However, it was still longer than Chen Ming thought, but fortunately, the consumption of mental power was still within his acceptable range. After the metal liquids were completely condensed, only a glimmer was left. Old Wu saw the spaceship change its appearance in an instant in front of him, and couldn't help but open his mouth and said, This is an attempt to use my psychic transformation ability, and the effect seems to be good. But there are also limitations. It must be a spaceship that I have learned to make myself. What kind of ship can it be? I am transforming it, and I can only transform it from a spaceship to another spaceship of the same level. Good guy. It's getting more and more perverted. Although the Jiaosu glimmer after Chen Ming's transformation did not look special, it was like swapping the positions of 2 spaceships of the same level. But the effect of the ability is not just about whether the result of the transformation is good or not. Chen Ming's ability means that as long as he learns from Yu Hui, he can continue to send Yu Hui's technology back from a long distance in this way. In other application scenarios, such as in battle, or at a time point close to the battle, it can also be used to replace more suitable warships. At the same time, replacing the spacecraft also has a certain degree of repair function. Although it is not as good as the genuine repair, it is more functional than the repair. Or, as long as Chen Ming is given a batch of the most basic spacecraft frames and enough materials, he can have extremely terrifying productivity alone. Of course, it is necessary to ensure that the mental strength can support it. After asking Chen Ming to confirm that Chen Ming has finished the work, Lao Wu stepped forward and touched the glimmer. After personally confirming that the glimmer really exists, his face once again showed an uncontrollable shock. At this time, it is not only Lao Wu who can see this scene. Several surveillance cameras in the maintenance plant, especially the surveillance of Chen Ming's spacecraft, are manned 24 hours a day. So when Old Wu and Wei Guang made some moves, several people on the company's board of directors were also paying attention to this place. After watching the whole process of the Sentinel turning into Wei Guang, a director asked the chairman in the private communication channel of the board members, should the plan continue? Chen Ming staying with Yu Hui seems to bring us more benefits. The chairman did not hesitate and said directly, my opinion is to continue to implement it. Such capabilities can only be used as spies with Yu Hui, but if he comes back, there will definitely be more than what we see now. Look at that spaceship, Yu Hui's Wei Guang level. Although we have obtained enough blueprints at present, there are still many problems to be solved if we want to actually manufacture it. And Chen Ming did it. How long has it been? Even if Yu Hui's spaceship just relies on memory to memorize the blueprint, giving you more than half a month, is it enough? The director who asked the question shut up. The chairman continued, "So we have to save Chen Ming. We don't need him to steal technology from Yu Hui. We just need him to come back and help us develop technology. So I wonder if we need to agree to the 14th Corps' request. I think everyone knows that the 14th Corps is seeking cooperation with us recently, right?" The director who was previously responsible for handling military-related affairs was also a member of the real-time monitoring of the repair plant. After the chairman finished speaking, he immediately said, "I think it's okay. It seems that the 14th Corps has follow-up support on the way, and it doesn't rely solely on us to do things. It is said that although they have gained a certain advantage on the front line, their strategic goals seem to have not been achieved. They plan to invest more here to remedy the situation." The chairman added, "So I think we can agree to the military's request for fleet assistance, and we can also release some of the material supply." At this time, a director suddenly poured cold water and said, "What about our sky steel?" The chairman immediately responded, "The 14th Corps has shown signs of loosening up. We can agree to some of them on a small scale first and see if they will continue to loosen up. Then do we need to change our action plan for Yu Hui?" The chairman thought for a while and said, "The Corps told us the rough plan before, saying that after finding out Chen Ming's position, they will directly launch a surprise attack. Take advantage of Yu Hui's opportunity to rescue Chen Ming and attract their attention. And when the Afterglow fleet is attracted, use the jump engine to jump directly to their core, that is, the location of Kletka. Catch the thief first, and kill this piece of Afterglow completely with one blow." Before the chairman said what he thought, a director immediately said, "This is too dangerous, and does the Legion know where Kletka is?" The chairman knew this very well. They don't know, so they keep arguing with us, hoping to get the way to contact Chen Ming from us. It's not easy for us to contact ourselves now. Chen Ming has obviously lost some trust in us because of the last incident. Contact him rashly. I'm really worried that Chen Ming will turn around and join Yu Hui completely. The pressure in Yu Hui's place is beyond our imagination. If we take the initiative to contact him again and put external pressure on him, it is not surprising that he will do anything because of this. Unless there is an emergency, try to maintain the status quo of indirect contact, which will also help us to have a say in the joint meeting. And the military plan is actually not very beneficial to us. If we can eliminate Yu Hui, we can indeed be the first group to open up the territory, but people from other places will pounce on us like sharks smelling blood. If we lose too much before, even if we take the initiative, we may not be able to get enough benefits from it, and it may even make us lose our future competitiveness. So we will not participate in the subsequent raids. We are only responsible for rescuing Chen Ming." The chairman took a sip of water and continued, "If the plan can start smoothly as originally planned, I will take the initiative to undertake the rescue and attention-attracting tasks at the meeting so that the 14th Corps can raid Yu Hui's hometown on its own. And our ships are enough for us to forcefully break into the galaxy where Chen Ming is now and attract enough Yu Hui. That's it. I will bring it up at the next formal board meeting, and you can raise your opinions now." The chairman quietly waited for the other directors to speak. However, what he didn't expect was that another director joined the communication channel. And it was the director who was in charge of various pirate space stations on weekdays. The director said in a very urgent tone as soon as he joined the communication channel, "I suddenly received an urgent message from the person in charge of the space station. Wu Ping'an contacted me and said that Chen Ming would soon be transferred to a new place by Yu Hui." "Where?" "I sent the star map." The communication channel was quiet for a while, and the chairman was the first to speak. "It seems that our previous guess was wrong. Yu Hui did not put Chen Ming in the final position from the beginning. Instead, they have been preparing until today. Fortunately, we have considered this aspect before, but the plan must be changed." The chairman looked at the director in charge of military affairs and said, "Go and notify the Legion. The meeting has to be reopened." Just when Shinda Company was about to get busy with the joint meeting, Chen Ming was in the factory of Yu Hui Colony, packing his things. There were not many things. Chen Ming could directly use psychic energy to send materials to the maintenance plant for storage. The only trouble for Chen Ming now was the 63 escape pods. But just when Chen Ming was struggling, Hui Huang got Chen Ming a Buffalo-class cargo ship. Looking at the fresh damage on it, it was probably caused by Yu Hui and his group's recent conflict with humans. Chen Ming must have accepted it happily. Anyway, the people on the ship must have died. It was pure stupidity for him not to accept it. However, after Chen Ming loaded all the things he should take away onto the Buffalo, Hui Huang suddenly said to Chen Ming, "Emergency notice, Mr. Chen. You must leave here today."
Now?
Yes. Chen Ming was stunned for a moment and asked, "Why?" "No reason." Chen Ming's mind was suddenly filled with doubts. Yu Hui just gave Chen Ming a lot of time to pack up slowly. Suddenly so urgent. Is there something unexpected? Or is there a spy of Yu Hui among humans? Several thoughts flashed through Chen Ming's mind. But these speculations were soon ruled out. How long has it been since Chen Ming told Lao Wu that he was going to be transferred? How many people can the news reach? If even the people who contacted Lao Wu's company might be spies, then Xinda company might as well go bankrupt. So there must be other reasons. But Chen Ming couldn't figure out what the reason was. He could only hurriedly pack up some tools he usually used in the factory control room and boarded the iron ore. With the buffalo he had just obtained, he arrived in space following Hui Huang's guidance. He was incorporated into Yu Hui's fleet. The Hui Huang-class cruiser controlled by Hui Huang was waiting for him here. In addition, there was a heavy unmanned cruiser of Yu Hui's refraction class in the fleet. The fleet of more than 100 ships consisting of 2 cruisers escorted him, and Chen Ming had nothing to say about this treatment. There was no chance for him to escape, nor any chance for rescue. But it would be too late to rescue him now, unless the company had been prepared and happened to come today. Otherwise, it would be too late. But in the end, the situation that flashed through Chen Ming's mind did not appear. Until the jump engines of brilliance and refraction were started, no human ships appeared. Chen Ming felt a little regretful, but it didn't matter to him at this time. He didn't expect anyone else to come to rescue him. After he was sent away, it would be much more difficult for the company or other forces to contact him and rescue him. The current situation was nothing more than a firmer determination for Chen Ming to rely on himself. Even if he was taken to the depths of Yu Hui's territory, he would definitely have a way to leave in the future. The jump engine allowed Chen Ming to quickly reach a new galaxy. Just as Chen Ming was about to observe the situation in the galaxy, Chen Ming suddenly found that Lao Wu was actively touching the Weiguang he had modified. After noticing that the camera outside the Weiguang moved, he spread his hands helplessly and pointed at the terminal in his hand. A video call was going on the terminal. The scene on the other side was very familiar to Chen Ming. It was the factory director's office. However, there were 3 people in the office. In addition to the factory director, there were 2 people Chen Ming did not know who were also in the video call. One was wearing a uniform that only the senior management of Xinda Company would wear, and the other was wearing the uniform of the 14th Legion. Chen Ming was quite confused when he looked at the screen on Lao Wu's terminal. He had just passed on the message that should be sent back, and in the blink of an eye, there was something else? He had clearly explained everything that should be explained, and told Lao Wu the galaxy map and the specific location and asked him to pass it on. It's not necessary to confirm with him again, right? It shouldn't be necessary. Moreover, the company did not actively contact them before Chen Ming, and did not interfere with Chen Ming except for normal monitoring. So this sudden contact might be something urgent? Chen Ming thought about it, and decided to pay attention to them. After all, the person who could make the factory director Lao Wu cooperate and actively come to him must be at least a person of certain weight in the company. And there were people from the 14th Legion next to him, which was actually a very special signal that the company contacted him. A few times before, when Chen Ming was chatting with Lao Wu after finishing his work, Lao Wu mentioned the situation of the 14th Legion. They drove away the original Star Zone garrison, replaced the original military and stayed, and took over everything left behind. This naturally included Sky Steel. Since Sky Steel itself has a shady origin, the name of the 14th Corps can dispel many people who have participated in it before. Until now, those who still have unrealistic ideas about Sky Steel and dare to reach out can be dealt with by the 14th Corps. But the 14th Corps itself seems to have some special ideas about Sky Steel, but it is more ambiguous, so there are some conflicts with the company. If the 14th core and the company can really appear together, it must be because there is really an emergency to find him. After Chen Ming figured it out, he connected the communication signal to Lao Wu's terminal. Under Lao Wu's operation, the video communication was connected to the factory director's office. Of course, there is no video signal on Chen Ming's side. After all, although the communication was initiated by Chen Ming, it actually started from the dim light of the maintenance plant. So now only Chen Ming can see the factory director's office unilaterally. After confirming the signal was connected, the factory director looked serious and said, "Xiao Ming, the 14th Corps has very urgent news to communicate with you directly. The person next to you is the person sent by the company to testify to this matter. If things are really as they said, then I think you'd better take it seriously. Let them tell you the details." After the factory director said this, Chen Ming had to listen no matter what, to hear what the people of the 14th Corps wanted to say to him. "I know, I'm listening." The factory director nodded to the officer of the 14th Corps beside him. The officer did not talk about the purpose of looking for Chen Ming right away, but mentioned something else. "Mr. Chen Ming, I don't know if you are paying attention to the public war intelligence of the Empire in the Sunset Star region, which is the star region where we are fighting with the Yue army." Chen Ming knew that the Empire had been fighting with the Yue army on the other side, but he was limited to knowing it. He generally didn't pay much attention to the specific war. So Chen Ming gave a negative answer. The officer got this answer and said, "Then please let me briefly explain it to you. We have gained an overall advantage in the battle with Yue in the Sunset Star region during this period. After Yue's defeat shortened the defense line, the battle has entered a stalemate and it is difficult to break through. But as long as we continue to suppress Yue, their front line will be conquered sooner or later. So in order to find a way, Yue chose to transport a piece of equipment to a certain place through a high-power output energy source and supporting facilities for ultra-long distance transportation of goods. We discovered this and responded immediately. In this special battle, we successfully broke through Yue's defense line and achieved results again. But we failed to achieve the ultimate strategic goal and failed to stop Yue from sending their things away. However, with our continued attack, we successfully broke into their colony before Yue destroyed the information of the equipment they transported. The Special Operations Team obtained relevant intelligence, and now the investigation has also come to an inconclusive result. The things sent away by the mechanical race are some kind of psychic devices. Psychic power? Yue had just brought Chen Ming, a psychic with outrageous abilities, to them. So it would be strange if people didn't associate the action of transporting psychic equipment over a long distance. Chen Ming quickly connected the logic of the matter in his mind, and then said to the officer, "I have a few questions." "Go ahead. Are there psychics in the Special Operations Team?" Chen Ming's question made the officers of the 14th Corps a little unresponsive. Obviously, this question has nothing to do with this matter. Chen Ming asked it purely because he wanted to ask it. It didn't matter if he answered it. "Yes." "Okay." Satisfied with his curiosity, Chen Ming said in a businesslike manner, "From what you said, Yue and the others sent things to Yue here?" "Yes." Yue sent a piece of equipment from the Sunset Star region to the Gallo Star region where we are now, and even my current location is outside the Gallo Star region, such a remote place? "Yes." "Didn't they send anything else? Like a fleet or something?" "No, only equipment." "Why?" Although the ultra-long-distance transport equipment used by Yue is similar to the Stargate, the actual operating logic is completely different from the Stargate. Although the transportation distance is farther than the Stargate, the corresponding consumption is also the same. At such a distance, Yue is completely unable to support fleet-scale transportation. Chen Ming has no knowledge of this equipment yet. In the face of uncertainty, he chooses to believe the officer's words. "But I remember that Yue had problems when he touched spiritual stones, which are related to psychic energy. Wouldn't it be more problematic to touch this kind of psychic energy equipment?" "You only know part of it." The officer directly pointed out the obvious mistakes in Chen Ming's words and explained to Chen Ming, "Yue will indeed be affected by spiritual stones, which are objectively spreading psychic energy fluctuations. But this has nothing to do with psychic energy equipment. Although the existence of psychic energy is indeed difficult for Yu Hui to understand, and it is indeed not easy for them to touch, it does not completely make Yu Hui unable to touch psychic energy. As long as sufficient protective measures are taken, even young children can safely touch things related to psychic energy. And the equipment that Yu Hui just sent away is most likely not developed by them themselves, but found in the ruins of another civilization. This gets rid of most of the problems they are studying. The officer suddenly realized something and asked, "Do you know this civilization I am talking about?" "I know this." Chen Ming's mind flashed through the mechanical tribes he had encountered on Ruemu and the mind pulse generator, and the planet with a large number of mechanical buildings that was found when Chu Guang was sent out before. The mechanical race is one of the relics of this civilization. They left various relics in many star fields, and the pioneering era flourished because of this, until the successive appearance of Yu Hui and the mechanical race caused us to stagnate. The officer nodded slightly and said, "It's easy to say if you know. The other civilization has a very deep grasp and research on mechanical technology, biotechnology, and psychic technology. So we are not surprised at all that Yu Hui finds any psychic equipment from the heritage of this civilization. And a piece of psychic equipment was forcibly transported here on Yu Hui's territory at great risk, which shows that Yu Hui is very urgent about this. If Yu Hui himself needs it, there is no need to use emergency transportation, so this equipment must be specially used to target you." Chen Ming was still a little uncertain at this time and asked, "Are you 100% sure that Yu Hui is targeting me? Maybe Yu Hui found a facility like the Psychic Research Institute left by that civilization somewhere else? Need to use this equipment?" "No, because we have observed the direction of the equipment they transported, which is here." "Okay, then I have nothing to say. The ultra-long distance on the scale of the universe is a distance that even the Stargate cannot directly transmit. In this case, the direction of transporting things must be as accurate as it can be. So since the direction has been determined, and there happens to be a Chen Ming in this direction, the probability that Yu Hui happens to find something in this direction is basically zero." Chen Ming accepted the fact that Yu Hui was about to take action against him and said, "So why did you come to me?" The officer said, "We hope you can provide us with more information about Yu Hui so that we can quickly rescue you. We also know that it is very difficult to obtain intelligence from Yu Hui, and it may even be dangerous, so we will assist you in obtaining that information while trying our best to protect your safety." "Well, let me think about it. Please do it as soon as possible." Taking advantage of this time, Chen Ming quickly contacted the boss through Wei Guang and quickly told him the news given by the 14th Corps. But when Chen Ming was halfway through, the boss stopped him and said, "I know everything you just said. They invited me to their joint meeting before, and the content of the meeting was all about you and Yu Hui. Let me put it this way, I can confirm that the news from the 14th Corps is true." Chen Ming went over the words of the 14th Corps officer in his mind again and said, "Does that mean I'm in trouble now?" "It's highly likely. In fact, if you need it, I can find a way to rescue you directly. There's no need for those unnecessary things. But if you have been transferred to a place with stricter supervision on Yu Hui's side, the danger is too high, and I can't help." Old Wu's news spreads a little too fast. Chen Ming complained in his heart. Then he said half to himself and half to his boss, "This is the path I chose. So you have to go on your own from now on, but I can also help you in some places, so if you have any questions, ask them now." "Okay, what is the use of this device?" "I don't know. Yu Hui used encrypted information files to store data on such things. So far, only so much has been deciphered. We can only confirm that it is indeed a device related to psychic power. Based on my experience, this device is almost the same type of thing. It is unlikely to have any effect on ordinary people, but it will be a big trouble for you. After all, there is absolutely no reason for Yu Hui to do unnecessary things. They must have their purpose in getting this device. Then the purpose is clear at a glance, isn't it you? You should rather believe that you have it." Chen Ming somewhat agreed with his boss's statement. Like the afterglow of today, Ming had just been given a day and a half to rest, but he suddenly and hurriedly asked Chen Ming to leave immediately and go to a new place. "I'm afraid it has something to do with the psychic equipment that was transported." Since Chen Ming already knows that the whole thing has begun to undergo unknown changes, and there are still unknown changes that may directly threaten Chen Ming's own spiritual power, then Chen Ming must carefully consider the communication with the 14th Army Corps. The information needed by the 14th Legion can be provided, but Chen Ming does not want others to know yet that he can gradually spread his control over Yuhui like a virus, because this might not be a good situation for other people, who would want the afterglow to be unified under one person. So the information can be given, but only part of it. Chen Ming returned to the factory director's office and asked the officer who had been waiting for a while, "What do you need?" The officer of the 14th Legion breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. When Chen Ming said these words, his mission was completed. "Mr. Chen, I am only responsible for negotiating with you. Please communicate with our speaker here in person for details." "All right." Chen Ming agreed to the officer's request, and soon with his help, he re-established communication with another person. On the video communication screen, you can see that the other party is a man who looks to be in his 30s or 40s and wearing a pair of square-framed glasses. Chen Ming went to check out the 14th Army after learning about it before. If he saw it correctly, the man in front of him was a major general. After the communication was connected, the major general took the initiative and said to Chen Ming, "Hello. I am the person in charge of the 14th Army Corps here, by Quan. I am Chen Ming. Let's not talk nonsense now. I have been taken to the new galaxy I marked on the star map by the afterglow. I may not have time after that." "Mr. Chun, you seem to have said before that there are 2 more days?" "It was 2 days before, but just now, about 20 minutes ago, there was an emergency notification from Yuhui, asking me to leave immediately." The Major General instantly realized the seriousness of the problem and said, "Understood. Let me tell you straight away. We need your precise location now, the arrangement of defense forces here, and the location of the core galaxy of Afterglow. This may be a little difficult, but we can help you. We just need some clues." Chun Ming thought for a moment and said, "You're talking about the location of Yuhui's Kleka supercomputer, right?" "You know?" "Yes, I used to like reading history books. Let me just say this. My current location is most likely near Kleka." Through the dim light, Chen Ming sent a galaxy map file with more marks on it to the factory director and forwarded the file to Bai Quan through the officer in the office. Many galaxies with afterglow colonies are marked above. Of course, Chen Ming only marked whether there were colonies or not. He did not mark the other marks on the star map that Gamma A had given him. And it is also part of the colony that is open to all afterglows according to the detailed information given by Gamma A. These alone have clearly drawn a sphere on the star map. Did you see it? This small group of areas is empty in the middle, but surrounded by a large number of colonies belonging to the afterglow. I'm on the periphery now, so the core surrounding these colonial galaxies must be here. This? Bai Quan thought that if Chun Ming wanted to obtain Yu Hui's information, they would need their help and assistance to steal information from Yu Hui in various ways. Maybe they have to hand over some blueprints of military spy equipment and let Chun Ming use it. Maybe he can get some clues after half a month. After all, in their estimation, Yu Hui should never give Chun Ming the chance to come into contact with Yu Hui. At the same time, Yu Hui, who is suspected of having contact with Chen Ming, is controlled to ensure that there will be no subsequent communication with Chun Ming and other Yu Hui individuals. Although Yu Hui did what they thought, they did not completely limit Chun Ming's opportunities to contact Yu Hui from other places. Therefore, this has led to the current result. As a result, the direction of things was different from what Bai Quan thought. However, Bai Quan also quickly figured out the reason why Chun Ming obtained this information. It was the afterglow individuals that Chen Ming had controlled before who had already given this star map to Chen Ming before. So he didn't realize how exaggerated Chen Ming's ability was at this time. After reading the star map, Bai Quan habitually asked Chen Ming, "Can these locations be determined?" Chen Ming did not answer directly, but said, "You don't have to believe it." Bai Quan pushed up his glasses, hid his eyes behind the reflective lenses and said, "Then I believe it. Is there any other information?" "No, I'm still in space now, and I don't even know which planet I'm going to. The most I can tell you now is that the fleet escorting me consists of 2 cruisers, 40 destroyers, and 110 escorts. One cruiser model is brilliant, and the other is refracted. That's all. By the way, I have seen colonies on 2 atmosphereless planets in my current galaxy. Also saw traces of unnatural construction on a volcanic planet, which is just one galaxy. You should know what these mean, and you certainly don't need me to teach you how to fight. You guys must know better than me what will happen if we really fight. So from now on, it's up to you. It's best to inform me before any action is taken so that I can be prepared. Bai Quan noticed some casualness in Chen Ming's words. He didn't seem to care about their rescue. He didn't know if he had any confidence or special means. Bai Quan didn't have any objections to Chen Ming's attitude. Anyway, he had seen many people with worse attitudes. As long as he doesn't make a fool of himself in the end, Chen Ming's ability has already destined him to have such an attitude. So Bai Quan answered simply, "Yes, but it will take some time for us to carry out rescue. You just seem to have said that Yu Hui's psychic equipment has been sent over. If you want to save me, you won't forget about it, right?" Bai Quan said immediately, "Of course not, but if the situation is really urgent, we will not choose to contact you first, but will directly start taking action." The reason is that the ultra-long-distance transmission technology used by Yu Hui cannot deliver the transmitted items to the destination instantly. And it takes about half a month to get from the Sunset Star territory all the way to the Gallo Star territory. So you don't need to worry too much about the equipment at the moment. So slow? Afterglow uses a new technology that is still under development. And we happen to be currently researching this technology, and we started researching this technology first, so we have such an estimate. Bai Quan didn't say a word. If their 14th Legion wanted to stop Yu Hui from transporting this psychic device, they actually had the ability to do so. Because the technology used by Afterglow is a special technology that is similar to hyperspace, but has many different phase spaces. It happens to use the same technology as the phase ship that their 14th Legion is jointly developing with Tachyon Technology. That is, as long as they can install the phase equipment in advance on the path of Afterglow's delivery of the equipment in phase space. Then this device can be intercepted by the midway. But the problem is that the current phase technology of the 14th Legion is still not stable. Phase space is very special. Unlike hyperspace, which seems to shrink the universe, it is more like a mirror image of the real universe. If the time could be delayed by another year or two, they might be able to affect the existence inside the mirror outside the mirror. But now, they can only watch. Fortunately, the Empire's Sunset Star territory and the Gallo Star territory are physically quite far apart. As a mirror image, the phase space station now has a stable transportation effect, but its speed is definitely not as fast as traveling through hyperspace, let alone traveling through a stargate. And it just so happens that the 14th Legion can rely on the stargate to make uninterrupted ultra-long distance jumps. A large number of support fleets were deployed in the Gallo Star field earlier than Yu Hui's equipment. Apart from this equipment, Yu Hui has no support capabilities at all. If they want to get here as quickly as the Legion, they can only use the Stargate. But the Empire's Stargate Afterglow cannot be used. Sunset wants to move quickly by relying on the Stargate, unless they build a Stargate corridor along the border of the Empire to surround the entire Empire. But as long as there is no problem with the brain or the core logic of this approach, there will be no Afterglow to do it. Therefore, Yu Hui can only rely on the individuals they already have in this star field to defend against the siege of the 14th Legion. The plan is absolutely executable logically. Also, it is best to get stuck just before the time when the psychic equipment is about to be delivered. Bai Quan and Chen Ming said a few more words and finished talking about business. Suddenly he said casually, "By the way, Mr. Chen Ming, I want to talk to you about what you learned from cleaning the battlefield before." Bai Quan's question did not surprise Chen Ming. Since the day he took Cheng Xinghao Wei, Chen Ming has been thinking about when the 14th Legion will come to his door. So Chen Ming has already thought about what attitude to use to deal with this matter. "I know what you want to ask and who to ask, but there is one thing you must know first. Before, the military of the Gallo 2-star zone took the initiative to attack me and the fleet of the Shinda Company, and at that time, I don't know why the commander of the Star Zone military fleet was Cheng Xinghe. The company may have reconciled with you, but for me, this matter has not been explained yet. Chen Ming's words made the atmosphere between him and Bai Quan gradually serious. And Bai Quan seemed very rational and restrained and said, I don't deny this. But just as we have resolved the conflict with the Shinda company, I will definitely give you a satisfactory and acceptable answer. As long as Cheng Xinghe can come back safely. For Chen Ming, he captured Cheng Xinghe's escape pod for two main purposes. One is Cheng Xinghe's command ability, and the other is Cheng Xinghe's own value, human value and identity value. Human value can be ignored, but his identity value is not low, so Chen Ming must talk about this. So Chen Ming followed by Quan's meaning and said, Cheng Xinghe's safety can be fully guaranteed. Yu Hui is not interested in my spoils of war, so what? The meaning of Chen Ming's last sentence is also very clear. If the 14th Corps wants Cheng Xinghe, who took the initiative to attack him, to return safely, it must pay some price. Otherwise, Chen Ming will just throw Cheng Xinghe's escape pod and the 14th Corps will go to find it. It's up to you to decide, Mr. Chen Ming. After getting the answer, Bai Quan chose to kick the ball back and said, After all, I'm not sure what you need. If the 14th Corps takes the initiative to bring up this aspect of compensation, then Chen Ming can wait for the price until he is satisfied. However, Chen Ming gave up this idea because the fleet Chen Ming was in had already arrived in the galaxy and was taking Chen Ming to the final destination. Chen Ming would soon run out of time. Moreover, repeatedly arguing with the 14th Legion, which was in the heyday of the Empire, just to get some possible petty profits would make the relationship between Chen Ming and them more rigid. This was definitely a blood loss. So Chen Ming thought about it and decided to take advantage of Cheng Xinghe to get what he should have gotten from Cheng Xinghe from the 14th Legion and at the same time get some additional benefits. I need to learn some techniques in spacecraft combat and spacecraft command. Bai Quan asked with some surprise, Are you interested in this aspect? He mentioned Chen Ming's ability when he talked about Chen Ming with the lieutenant general before. They did think that Chen Ming's ability was indeed suitable for the command of the fleet to a certain extent. But a person's energy is limited, and it is difficult to take into account both command and technology, which can be said to be completely unrelated. So what he considered at the time was that Chen Ming specialized in technology and then cooperated with other professional commanders, and the effect should be very good. But they didn't expect Chen Ming to really want to take care of both sides. However, he couldn't interfere with other people's ideas, and just now he took the initiative to ask Chen Ming to tell him what he needed. So Bai Quan didn't refuse directly, but said, This is no problem for us. We can provide all the teaching of our own military academy's command major, including professional skills and professional abilities. And there will be professional instructors, retired or active military personnel to teach. We can provide one-on-one teaching, and online is also possible. But there is something I need to tell you in advance. Our military academy's teaching and training of officers starts at least 5 years. If there is no foundation, it may take longer. Are you sure? Chen Ming certainly knew that it would take a long time to train an officer, and he had thought about these problems before. But he also thought about other things. For example, in the future, if he encounters a situation like Cheng Xinghe again, and at that time, if his ability is not enough, or for some reason, his mental power has been consumed a lot. Without spiritual power, the fleet does not have a strong enough command to compete. The result may not be too good. Therefore, Chen Ming's fleet must have a commander with sufficient ability, whether it is Chen Ming or any Yuhui individual. Chen Ming has considered the situation that he is not suitable for command. So it is very good for him to be able to teach online. The instructor never knows whether it is a person or something else sitting across the screen. Yuhui AI is similar to humans in many ways. It is not enough for them to record data. They also need to learn, and maybe they can learn command techniques. If this doesn't work, then Chen Ming will think of other considerations later. So Chen Ming answered quickly, No problem. But the value of Cheng Xinghe should not be limited to this, right? Bai Quan had no objection to this and said, Yes, so we can provide our military academy and teaching, and all the rewards that an excellent student with top grades deserves during the learning process, including ships, simulation facilities, professional sparring, and some scattered learning support. Chen Ming was immediately attracted by the ships Bai Quan mentioned and asked, What ships can you provide? All specifications are in accordance with the rules of our 14th Corps. An outstanding graduate can normally get a total of 5 ships from us from enrollment to graduation from the military academy. They are all spacecrafts developed and improved by us, for escorts and 1 destroyer. All can choose specific models according to the student's own driving habits and needs. This condition made Chen Ming a little at a loss for words for a while. The 4 frigates by Quan mentioned are nothing but a destroyer modified by the 14th Corps. Even now Chen Ming is jealous. Bai Quan did not stop talking after talking about these spaceships. In fact, the value of these spaceships is not high. The high value lies mainly in the simulation equipment we provide. It can simulate the cosmic environment and ship data in a large range and realize simulated command and combat. The area that can be simulated in detail is about 2 star fields. Bai Quan knew that it was meaningless to just talk about it, so he just talked about it briefly to let Chen Ming understand the general effect of this thing. This equipment is very necessary for training officers, but it also consumes a lot of resources. 1 or 2 times is okay, but it takes far more than 1 or 2 times to train an officer. Multiple and frequent large-scale simulations occupy the operating resources of the background supercomputer. Even excellent students can only conduct a limited number of simulated operations each year. But we can provide you with unlimited times, as long as you use it seriously. Bai Quan said all the benefits they can provide in one breath. After a short pause, he said, "But I actually have something I want to confirm with you, which is your future development plan." Bai Quan did not wait for Chen Ming to speak, and said, "You should have realized that you can't go back to Shinda Company. Your ability to control spacecrafts means that you can't get a job in any company that needs to sell spacecrafts. But our 14th Corps doesn't have this problem. Do you want to learn command technology, or want to drive a spacecraft, or want to research spacecrafts? Our Corps can satisfy you in these aspects. And the previous accounts will definitely be settled for you. It won't be said that you join us and the accounts between us will be written off. We will definitely give you additional compensation in other aspects. The 14th Corps will not let its own people suffer." Bai Quan invited Chen Ming. Chen Ming did not hesitate to say, "I can't give you an answer to this matter now." Chen Ming did not completely refuse in his words, but still had a certain reservation. And his idea was actually very simple. Whether to consider Bai Quan's proposal or not depends on the situation later. Because Chen Ming is still uncertain about whether he can control the afterglow of the entire star field with the afterglow he has at hand. If he can do it, that would be the best, and Chen Ming would not have to join the 14th Legion at all. He himself might be the 14th Legion in the future. But if not, Chen Ming must leave a way out in some places. Many times, words cannot be said for sure. Who knows what will happen suddenly tomorrow? Especially what he is doing now is digging for the roots of afterglow. Now there is one more way out, and there is more possibility of survival in the future. And things should be done according to the situation. If all Chen Ming's arrangements and plans here at Afterglow fail, there is really nothing to say. Just follow the company or the 14th Legion. But it is different now. The number of Afterglow AI controlled by Chen Ming is steadily increasing, and Gamma Z has also completed several tasks. It has been with humans for many years. Even if it has not yet been upgraded to the beta level, it is not far away. After all, Yuwei's optimization of his own logic and his substitute for his own computing power are 2 things they do all the time. So when the overall situation is good, Chen Ming has no need to agree to Bai Quan. Although there is no clear refusal, Chen Ming's answer still makes Bai Quan feel a little regretful. For him, in addition to rescuing Chen Ming, inviting Chen Ming to join the Legion is also a task that must be completed. Fortunately, he should have another chance later. It is said that the Psychic Society has not yet recruited Chen Ming. Although Tachyon Technology has ideas, they have basically withdrawn from the competition as a company. The government can't play a key role in the rescue, and they are not competitive with their 14th Corps. So it is very likely that they will get Chen Ming in the end. They will never let go of a psychic like this. The topic returned to the compensation proposed by Bai Quan just now. After being rejected by Chen Ming, Bai Quan added a few more words about the various reward measures of the 14th Corps Officer School and asked Chen Ming, "So what do you think?" Chen Ming's mind was running fast at this time. He was thinking about the same thing as Baikwan. The ships they provided were indeed not important. But Chen Ming was still considering whether the simulation environment was necessary for him. After all, the people in the officer school were students, and Chen Ming was not. So, Chen Ming could directly find pirates to fight in actual combat instead of using simulation equipment. But after thinking carefully about the combat effectiveness of the pirates, he changed his target to Yuhui and the mechanical race. Fighting with them should have a similar effect to the simulation. But the efficiency of finding Yuhui and mechanical races of the same level as Chen Ming can only be said to be a thought. And Baikwan seemed to have mentioned that there were professional sparring partners just now. Someone who can teach Cheng Xinghe to this level should be stronger than Cheng Xinghe, right? At least it must be stronger than the pirates and the small-scale Yuhui or mechanical race fleet that Chen Ming went back to find. Moreover, the simulation equipment can also simulate battles of similar scale, which is definitely much more convenient than Chen Ming going out to find a fight. If these conditions can really be met, then it is indeed not a loss. Okay, no problem, just do it this way. Chen Ming agreed and did not continue to ask for anything else. People are greedy, and once they are satisfied, there is no need to cause more trouble. Baikwan nodded slightly and said, "It's settled. When the rescue is over, we will meet your needs one by one. Can you let me confirm Cheng Xinghe's situation? I don't have the ability to transmit data directly now. Wait, let me try." Chen Ming suddenly thought of a possibility halfway through his words, and immediately saved the video of the 63 escape pods in the cargo hold of the Buffalo next door. At the same time, he also recorded an additional video of Cheng Xinghe frozen in the escape pod and took a few photos. All these images and video files were stored in a data storage module, commonly known as a hard drive. Then Chen Ming transformed the hard drive onto the mule. Finally, he chose to uninstall this transformation and let the hard drive stay in the cargo hold. Chen Ming contacted Lao Wu, who was still in the repair shop, and said, "Lao Wu, go take a look at my mule. There is something on the ground." Lao Wu has been very idle recently. After Chen Ming ran away, he resumed his previous habit of slacking off. Except for being a little busy when helping Chen Ming, he was basically not seen at other times. Chen Ming's contact made old Wu take action immediately. After boarding the spaceship, he also responded quickly. "I found something. What is this?" "Try to read it." Old Wu was silent for a few seconds and said, "There are a few photos." "Who is this?" "It looks like someone from the 14th Legion." "It's done." Chen Ming was a little excited. He found a point where his ability could be used. "Don't worry about it. Give this thing to the factory director. The rest is none of your business." "Okay." Old Wu glanced at the plaque on Cheng Xinghe's chest in the photo. He habitually wrote down all the contents on it and quickly came to the administration building with the hard drive. Old Wu habitually walked into the office without knocking. After noticing that there was someone inside, he immediately pretended to be serious and his eyes stayed on the officer of the 14th Legion for a while. Then he gave the terminal to the factory director as Chen Ming requested and left the room. But he didn't go far. He quietly left a crack in the door and eavesdropped at the door. Soon, Chen Ming said to Baikwan, who had been waiting for a while, "It's done. The photos have been sent to the space station. The officer you arranged to contact me can see it." Baikwan did not doubt this and said, "Okay, give me some time to confirm it." Chen Ming did not speak, watching Baikwan disappear in front of the screen. After waiting for about 5 minutes, Baikwan came back here. "I have confirmed it here, no problem." "So this matter is settled?" "Yes." Baikwan looked a little relieved, but before ending the communication, Baikwan suddenly said, "By the way, there is one more thing I want to ask Mr. Chen Ming about your opinion. It's a private matter. It's your opinion of Cheng Xinghe." Chen Ming frowned slightly and said, "What do you think?" "My opinion of him is that he is very capable and can eliminate all the advantages brought by my psychic power, but that's all. Otherwise, he is not so good." Chen Ming said this in a more tactful way considering that he had just reached a deal with Baikwan. "You all know what happened to him before, so I won't say more. If that's all, it's fine after all, you're dealing with it now. But I'm thinking, there should be a lot of smart people in your 14th Legion, right? The 14th Legion is the most powerful legion in the Empire now. So Cheng Xinghe must be a smart person. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to mention him specifically and ask me to confirm his safety. You didn't ask about the other people with him. A captain who is being watched by a major general must have a good brain. So, in my opinion, the previous battle between the military and the company may have been an accident, and it may have been arranged by the rebellious military personnel. But the process of continuing is different. Bai Quan realized what Chen Ming meant, but he couldn't open his mouth to defend himself at this time, so he could only continue to listen. When the man in the Star Zone army was convicted of treason, Cheng Xinghe immediately commanded the fleet to stop fighting the company fleet. This shows one thing: he could have stopped the battle earlier. But he didn't. He knew the situation clearly. He was used as a gun but accepted it and fought against me. This makes me very uncomfortable. That's it. This is what I think of him. Seeing that Bai Quan seemed to have something to say, Chen Ming added, "Of course, I have a clear distinction between things. My private relationship with him and my conflict with him have nothing to do with the open things. These are two different things. The open things have been resolved. Even if there is hatred between him and me in private, it will not affect the transaction between you and me in public, so you don't have to worry." Although Bai Quan heard Chen Ming's assurance, he still said, "Is that so? But I think it's better to give you an explanation for this matter." Chen Ming also realized Bai Quan's deeper meaning at this time and said, "I don't care. I'm just doing business with you, and I don't know him. He has been frozen in the escape pod and has never said a word. I won't know him in the future. And if I consider your proposal later, the 14th Corps should not be so small that I must stay with him, right?" Bai Quan couldn't say it directly at this time, but Chen Ming's statement did conflict with his later thoughts, as well as the thoughts of the lieutenant general, or the people in the entire 14th Corps who knew about this matter. Almost everyone in the 14th Corps is counting on Cheng Xinghe to work with Chen Ming in the future. But if things go on like this, something is wrong. So Bai Quan did not answer Chen Ming's question, but said sincerely, "Our people did something wrong, so he must give you a proper explanation." Chen Ming raised his eyebrows and said, "It's up to you." Chen Ming also did not completely refuse this, which made Bai Quan feel a little relieved. However, it is still difficult for him to deal with Chen Ming's affairs now. After all, he knows everything Cheng Xinghe has done. Although Chao Muhui likes to command the fleet to fight, it is reasonable not to want to fight when he sees someone. And the calmness that the commander needs most has always been in him. It's just that it may be because Chen Ming's identity as a psychic is too sensitive for Cheng Xinghe. He just lost to a psychic not long ago, and it was a person he was very familiar with. So he wanted to defeat a psychic to prove himself too much. This eventually led to this situation. So he still had to wait until the rescue was successful, give enough compensation, and turn the previous things over completely. He can continue to solve Cheng Xinghe's problem. Bai Quan quickly said goodbye and ended the communication. The officer in the factory director's office also received the order to return after completing the mission. After chatting with the factory director for a few words, he left the office. The company staff only nodded to the factory director and left. The factory director was the only one left in the office, as well as Old Wu, who had been waiting at the door for a long time and had not heard any useful information at all, and Chen Ming, who was communicating with the factory director. Before Chen Ming hung up the phone, Old Wu rushed to the factory director and asked Chen Ming, "Xiao Ming, is your situation not good? Do you need the 14th Corps to rescue you?" When Chen Ming heard Old Wu's question, he first glanced at the camera of the iron ore, confirmed that he had about 10 minutes of free time, and then said to Old Wu, "I'm actually fine. I'm making all my own arrangements slowly, mainly to give the people who want to rescue me a sense of security and to cooperate with them, by the way. I'm sure Yue won't give up easily, so even though it's not easy for me to leave now, my safety is guaranteed. It's hard to talk about a lot of things here. If you have any questions, come to my boat to talk." Old Wu raised his lips and said, "That's good. I don't want to see you die so early. Don't worry, I won't die that easily. I still have a lot of things to do." At the same time, when Chen Ming and Bai Quan finished their communication, Hui Huang was exchanging information with its superior. Hui Huang had sent back the summary of the previous report. The content was all records of the time Chen Ming stayed in Yuhui's factory. It also included the previous mining incident, but the content recorded in it was exactly the same as the investigation results that Hui Huang had found out before and told Chen Ming. Chen Ming modified the robot arbitrarily due to insufficient technical ability, which caused the robot to malfunction and left out the explosives for mining and blasting operations when working. This led to the collapse of the mine. Although the Yuhui individual who received the report saw it, he did not notice any problems here. If Chen Ming saw this report and Yuhui's reaction, he would immediately understand everything before. However, this report was directly delivered by Hui Huang to its superior, and no one except the senior Yuhui individual in this star field knew it. After reading all the contents of the report, the Yuhui individual connected with Hui Huang quickly sent several messages to Hui Huang. Okay, there will be other Yuhui taking over your task later. It will be responsible for preparing the supporting facilities and the necessary control of Chen Ming during the preparation period. We can start our plan after the equipment is delivered. Your task ends here. Received. Huang Hui replied as usual. However, after replying today, Hui added, but I still think it is unnecessary to do this. After this period of observation, I think Chen Ming's qualifications are beyond the reach of any Yuhui individual. The terrifying learning ability he possesses is at least equal to that of an alpha-level individual if put on an equal level. Not only here, but humans have never had anyone with such learning ability, and psychics are no exception. And we can't be sure whether such learning ability is the result of Chen Ming's psychic power. Huang Hui's superior received all the information Hui sent, and after reading it responded, but Chen Ming is too dangerous. Although he has been persecuted by humans, his thinking is still human. Whether his recent stable performance is a pretense or true, for us, the method that can obtain most of the benefits while ensuring safety is the best choice. We only need Chen Ming's psychic power, and there is no problem in giving up some extra benefits in exchange for a more stable process. This can also block the possibility of humans rescuing Chen Ming. Brilliant Superior continued to explain to Brilliant, according to its logical thinking, humans have such a psychic. There is no way there would be no reaction. However, humans have not made any moves since Chen Ming was trapped. There is a high probability that they are planning a plan that is more targeted at us. The equipment sent by the large army is already on the way. Even if there was a very low probability that humans did not take any action before, there is no such possibility now. When humans have 100% begun to prepare for Chen Ming, we can't continue to delay. The longer the delay, the higher the possibility of human plans, and the greater the possibility of Chen Ming being taken away. And because Chen Ming is currently in our hands, humans may even go straight to him when there is no hope of snatching him. Choose to kill Chen Ming directly. Brilliant Superior continued to patiently analyze the pros and cons of this matter with Brilliant. We are just a branch after all, and we have no real means to fight against the human empire. Once humans shift their focus to us, it will not only be Chen Ming, but the Yuhui of our entire star field will go on the road of exile. And we will not get any support from the big forces. So before this happens, our plan for Chen Ming must be completed. This is for the survival of all Yuhui. Brilliant knew that it was impossible to interfere with an individual Yuhui who was thinking for the interests of the Yuhui group. So it could only ask the question that had the greatest impact on its current thinking. What is the success rate of our plan? Brilliant Superior gave an instant answer. As long as the preparation is complete, it is 100%. Even if there is a failure later, our technology will give us many more chances. This psychic power must be completely mastered by us. Your mission has been completed from the beginning, and the subsequent missions have nothing to do with you. You only need to complete the final handover, and all the high-risk mission subsidies will be delivered to you. At the same time, the supervision authority of Hui Yao, who is in contact with Gamma A, will also be controlled by you. Pay attention to safety, maintain normal communication, and don't put excessive pressure on those Gamma-level individuals like you did before. Brilliant hesitated for a moment and responded, I got it. Hui Huang's superior obviously had full trust in Hui Huang. But Hui Huang's core personality module and logical thinking module were full of many different and even contradictory ideas at this time. In the end, Hui Huang readjusted himself. After terminating the communication with his superior, he turned his attention back to Chen Ming, whom he had escorted all the way. On Chen Ming's side, the escort fleet escorting Chen Ming had taken Chen Ming around the stars in the galaxy. Chen Ming was sent to a gray planet on the other side of the star that he had not seen when the jump just ended. At first glance, it was similar to the one he had been on before. Chen Ming could basically judge the situation of the planet from its appearance. The one in front of him was most likely an ordinary planet without atmosphere. As the fleet was captured by the gravity of the planet and entered the circumstellar orbit, Chen Ming landed on the planet alone with 2 spacecrafts under the guidance of Hui Huang. In this process, it was just as Chen Ming had guessed in advance. What he saw was a planet full of dead silence. Except that the surface looks more undulating and the soil layer is rougher, the whole planet is almost the same as the previous one, and there is nothing special about it. This should also be an ordinary resource planet belonging to Yuhui. The only change is the building that looks like a research institute that stands alone on the dead land that Chen Ming saw on the spaceship. And this building is also covered by a tall, transparent dome. Under the dome, in addition to the building with a simple overall architectural style, there are also a large number of plants that should not appear on this planet that grow around the building. This dome maintains the vitality of these plants. Chen Ming landed outside the dome under Hui Huang's guidance. There are many parking spaces for destroyer-level spacecraft drawn here. The 2 spacecrafts, Iron Ore and Buffalo given by Hui Huang, parked here do not occupy much area at all, not to mention compared with the huge dome. Chen Ming put on his protective suit and walked off the spacecraft. After passing through an isolation room at the door, he successfully entered the dome. He saw the improvement of the habitable climate environment displayed on the gas quality detector on his wrist. At the same time, he also came into contact with these real plants growing here. After Chen Ming and Hui Huang asked for green plants, Hui Huang did give Chen Ming some ornamental plants grown in the culture cabin. The plants planted here are basically the same as those given by Hui Huang before, with more in number and better growth. What Yu Hui did in these strange details always made Chen Ming feel Yu Hui's attention inadvertently. But after he did something before, Yu Hui still did it, which always made him feel that something was wrong. Chen Ming temporarily stopped observing these plants and came to the door of the building inside the dome. The door opened automatically, and a wide corridor appeared in front of Chen Ming. Let Chen Ming see the layout of the corridor, which is indeed a simple environment of pure white like the Research Institute. It doesn't look gorgeous, but it is easy to accept. At least it is much better than the factory that Chen Ming stayed in before, which was transformed from the original Yue factory. At the end of the corridor, that is, the center of the institute, Chen Ming saw a place like a garden with some ornamental plants planted like outside. There is a holographic screen on the top here, which can simulate various environments. Chen Ming did not linger on these places that should be considered entertainment facilities. He lowered his head and checked the map of the institute that Hui Huang had just sent him on the terminal. From the entrance, his left-hand side is the experimental and research area, and the right-hand side is the living and working area. There is no one in the entire institute, nor is there Yu Hui, only some robots assisting in daily work. For Chen Ming, it is indeed an excellent living and working environment, and the layout of the details is almost what he requires. Chen Ming entered the living area first under Hui Huang's guidance. In addition to the restroom and all the supporting living facilities needed for daily life, there is also a canteen. There is a cold storage behind the canteen. However, Chen Ming did not see any place or tools for cooking nearby. Hui Huang should have seen Chen Ming's doubts at this time and said, "After this, please come to the canteen at a fixed time for your daily meals. The robot here will help you prepare the food. If you have a specific need, you can directly respond to the equipment in the corner of the canteen. It will be ready for you in about 3 days." Hui Huang's words explained the situation in the canteen clearly. However, Chen Ming still felt a little strange. After all, Yu Hui had only prepared a bunch of food for Chen Ming in the warehouse before, and had not done it to this extent now. But it's okay. Maybe Yu Hui saw that Chen Ming didn't eat well because he was reading books every day, so he wanted to force him to have a healthy life. After all, the food stored on Chen Ming's iron or ship was almost all packaged survival food that he asked Lao Wu to buy as military emergency food. That is, the kind that Chen Ming found on the mining space station. Chen Ming was in a hurry when he left Yu Hui's factory and didn't have time to take the food in the warehouse. In addition, the fresh food he brought at the beginning had been eaten long before, so he only had this kind of emergency food on hand at this time. But emergency food is definitely not good for a long time. Otherwise, emergency food would not be called emergency food. Therefore, Chen Ming now feels that Yu Hui is doing a good job. At least he no longer needs to waste time cooking. And he is not afraid that Yu Hui will do something with the food, such as poisoning. After all, he is now with Yu Hui. If Yu Hui really has any ideas, there are other ways that are 10,000 times better than poisoning. Chen Ming's own fighting power is close to zero, and 2 robots can pin him to the ground. Yu Hui has no need to use such means. And Chen Ming has always had the habit of testing food for toxins before eating. From Ruemu to today. Although there are always things that the detection equipment cannot detect. But he is not dead yet, and he has never detected any problems in the food. It shows that Yu Hui at least did not have this idea before. And Chen Ming's habit is just a habit for Yu Hui. They can monitor Chen Ming's status at any time and know what Chen Ming is doing. It is too easy to prepare something that Chen Ming's detection device cannot detect. So what he does now is just for psychological comfort, and there is basically no practical significance. Considering these considerations, Chen Ming has no psychological pressure at all to eat the food given by Yu Hui. If he really wanted to die, he would have died long ago. It just so happens that it is almost lunchtime now, and Chen Ming can see that the food window in the cafeteria is open. When Chen Ming walked over, a meal was automatically delivered. All the food types were what Chen Ming had just eaten yesterday, except for the extra cup of tea in this meal. Chen Ming noticed this immediately. He picked up the tea and examined it carefully. There seemed to be nothing wrong with the tea itself. It was just boiled water and tea leaves. Next to the window, Chen Ming also saw a constant temperature kettle with boiling water in it, which could be added at any time. However, there was a problem with the tea leaves floating in the teacup. These tea leaves were not the common dark green color of ordinary tea leaves, but a special white color. And this white color was not a dye, but the tea leaves grew naturally like this, emitting a little mist in the water. At the same time, it also emitted a smell that made Chen Ming very familiar, but he couldn't remember it for a while. Chen Ming couldn't think of anything related for the time being, so he just put it to his mouth and took a sip of the tea. The taste can be said to be quite good, and it also has a refreshing effect. Chen Ming took a piece of white tea leaves and planned to look back to see the name of this thing. Chen Ming did not touch the food for the time being. I want to go to the next place first. Hui Huang had no objection to this and continued to guide Chen Ming to the work area next to the living area. The work area was basically filled with operating equipment that Chen Ming had seen countless times in the repair shop and Yu Hui's factory. After a round of walking, he did not see anything special. So Chen Ming turned around and went to the research area on the other side. Here, Chen Ming saw a device that was arranged in the center of the research area and occupied a considerable space. What is this? Hui Huang immediately explained. This is a connector for a supercomputer, and it also has some infrastructure that can bear the amount of calculation. It can call part of the computing capacity of the supercomputer it is connected to, which is used to provide convenience when frequent data calculation is required in future research. I see. Chen Ming nodded slightly and could feel that the conditions provided by Yu Hui were really very good. But for some reason, Chen Ming always felt that something was wrong with this matter. He had just done something big to Yu Hui not long ago. It had only been a few days, so Yu Hui shouldn't have completely forgotten about it, right? Returning this kind of thing? This was something Chen Ming couldn't understand at all. But again, if someone gave it to him, and the thing he gave didn't seem to have any problems, then not taking it would be sheer stupidity. The right to use part of the computing power of a supercomputer can do more than just arithmetic. Chen Ming is now capable of designing some frigate modules, or even the frigate itself. As long as he can supplement some knowledge that Yu Hui didn't teach him, or that is not in the Tachyon Technology technical book given by Lao Wu, and the knowledge that Chen Ming has never learned in Shinda Company. The rest will come naturally. There are more than 20 years of learning and technical experience as a foundation. Chen Ming has a terrifying learning efficiency after he has psychic power as a backbone. There is also the additional knowledge that Yu Hui has been providing during this period. Having the ability to become a research and development technician is what he should do. And for Chen Ming, he can use the most cutting-edge technology directly on the real object without any pressure. So overall, this research institute may be the place where Chen Ming will have the greatest improvement in the future. As long as Yu Hui really follows what Hui Huang said now and lets him use the equipment of the research institute. After leaving the research area, Chen Ming entered the experimental area next door. There is an empty area in the experimental area. The finished product testing area written on the map is used to test the effects of research weapons or other things. Of course, only some equipment with relatively small consequences of failure are tested here. If the consequences of failure are large, they must be tested outside. However, even so, there are many instruments and equipment here. They are all high-precision top research facilities that can play a role in the research and development of weapons, radiation and shields, and actual experiments. There are many things he knows, but he has only come into contact with them on paper. In the past, he had no chance and no qualifications to come into contact with these equipment. Although he has never actually used them, as long as he has learned, he should be able to use these equipment. There are also some equipment that Chen Ming can't understand at all and has never seen, but he can feel a little strange. It's like the cup of tea he just drank. Chen Ming suddenly reacted at this time. What is the familiar and strange breath that the cup of tea gave him? It is similar to the breath of psychic fluctuations that the whispering stone and the falsehood stone usually spread to the outside. It's just that the psychic fluctuations emitted by the stone of liarism are usually aggressive, and Chen Ming has been used to it for so many days. So he didn't notice the tea at the first time. At this time, Chen Ming also realized one thing, that is, psychic energy is not exclusive to humans. It seems that psychic energy also exists in plants. And the equipment next to him that he has never seen should also be this thing. These equipments are all psychic equipment. This is the first time that Chen Ming has felt other psychic fluctuations except for the very obvious special psychic fluctuations of the spirit stone. I don't know whether it is because Chen Ming's ability is still improving during this period, or Chen Ming can actually feel psychic fluctuations all the time, but he doesn't feel it because he has never encountered it. Chen Ming is more inclined to the former, but no matter what, it is always a good thing to be able to feel psychic fluctuations that are different from extreme psychic fluctuations, such as the spirit stone. At least if Yu Hui wants to use psychic equipment to do something to Chen Ming in the future, he can react in advance. There will be no situation where he doesn't know how he died. I just don't know whether these psychic devices here are for Chen Ming or intended for him. Chen Ming didn't feel too dangerous at first glance, but it's hard to say in the future. Chen Ming moved his eyes away from these psychic devices and looked at a large room in the corner of the experimental area. This room was empty at this time, with nothing in it. What is this used for? Hui Huang quickly replied, "We will install a new device here in a while, and you will use it at that time." Is that so? Hui Huang said so. Then this should be the room used to install the psychic device sent by Yu Hui. I don't know what the effect of this device will be essentially different from those other things that spread psychic devices. And Hui Huang's words, "will be used for you," made it difficult for Chen Ming to judge how to use it. Fortunately, he still has about half a month, which should be enough to make some responses. All 4 areas have been walked through. Chen Ming suddenly felt a little emotional. He didn't expect that his previous idea would be completed in a strange way now. The idea is to return to the company as a researcher, climb up step by step with technical ability, and build a research institute of his own. Although the results and process seem a bit biased, at least it has been completed in name. However, after experiencing many things before, Chen Ming's current ideas are not limited to this. People always change, and as his abilities increase, his ideas are changing and becoming bigger and bigger. A research institute is far from enough for Chen Ming now. So Chen Ming just took a few glances at the overall picture of the institute, and then asked Hui Huang, "I'm here now, so what are your plans for the future?" With so many new things, there should be many new tasks for me, right? Huang Huang's answer this time was a beat slower than before. Should be. Should. Yes, my task ends here, and there will be a new Yu Hui to take over this job later, so I don't know. I can only say should.
What?
Chen Ming didn't understand why Hui Huang, who had been communicating with him, was suddenly replaced with another Yu Hui. Seeing that Hui Huang had no intention of explaining, Chen Ming asked it, "What is the reason for replacing you?" No reason. Huang Huang's answer was very straightforward. As for the content of the answer, Chen Ming didn't believe it anyway. Yu Hui must have a purpose to replace Hui Huang. It can't be because they are going to do something later and are worried that Hui Huang and him will not be suitable after spending some time together, right? Chen Ming couldn't guess the reason at this time, so he changed the question and asked, "Which Yu Hui will take over your job? We will make arrangements at that time." This is also a nonsense answer. So Chen Ming continued to ask, "What if I need a Yu Hui I am familiar with? I can ask for you." Huang Huang was silent for a while and gave Chen Ming an answer. "Your request is rejected. Please cooperate with our arrangements." Chen Ming nodded, not surprised by the result. "Let me ask you something. You Yu Hui should all have different personalities, right?" "Yes." "What will the personality of the Yu Hui who takes over your task be like?" Chen Ming changed to a more tactful way, trying to get some words out of Hui Huang, who had a strange attitude. However, Hui Huang emphasized again, "I don't know which Yu Hui will take this job, nor do I know the personality of the individual who takes the job. Each Yu Hui's task is only the responsibility of the Yu Hui who performs the task, and the problem is also borne by the responsible Yu Hui himself. Unless there is a demand that exceeds the authority, such as the green plants you needed before, but you can also apply for it. So whether his arrangements in various aspects will be different from mine depends on him." This time, Hui Huang did not use "we" in his speech, but "I." So Chen Ming decided to treat it as Hui Huang's own words. It seems that Hui Huang's departure is inevitable. What a pity. Huang Huang did not reply, and Chen Ming suddenly asked Hui Huang out of curiosity, "After finishing my work here, what will you do next?" Huang Huang did not remain silent on this question and answered, "I will return to the galaxy you were in before and continue to be responsible for the security of the galaxy. The large amount of mineral resources on the planets in the galaxy and the mining sites that develop these resources are very important." "Okay, then when will you leave? When will the new Yu Hui hand over to me?" "Now, the Yu Hui who will be handed over will arrive in about an hour. I shouldn't be able to stop it, right?" "Yes." "So that's it?" "That's it." The communication was terminated. Chen Ming walked out of the research institute and looked up at the sky without atmosphere. It can be seen with the naked eye that the Yu Hui fleet, which is now in orbit around the star, is leading Hui Huang to break away from the gravity of the planet and fly out of the galaxy. Hui Huang's sudden departure was completely unexpected by him. After all, according to reason, the fewer Yu Hui individuals in the entire Yu Hui group who have come into contact with Chen Ming, the better. There is no need to change at all. After all, doing so will increase the probability of accidents. Could it be that there is a special reason? Chen Ming is now increasingly suspicious that it is because Yu Hui is going to attack him. It will be convenient to take action when a new one arrives. However, this is just Chen Ming's guess. The specific situation will not be clear until the new Yu Hui arrives. In addition, the last few words that Hui Huang said before leaving also made him very concerned. Because Hui Huang inexplicably mentioned the mining field on the planet, it seemed to be hinting at something. Chen Ming is considering whether he can let the few Yu Hui who are restricted on hand try to contact Hui Huang. But this will expose a lot of things, especially Chen Ming's ability to control Yu Hui. Yu Hui has no substantial evidence to prove that Chen Ming can control Yu Hui. If Hui Huang's various hints in the middle and the last few words were all for fishing, then Chen Ming is equivalent to actively exposing his ability, and he will definitely be completely suppressed by Yu Hui. The few Yu Hui working in the mining field must not be easily exposed. It is still a small problem if they are exposed, if it affects other Yu Hui controlled by Chen Ming. Then the entire galaxy will probably face the internal cleansing of Yu Hui. Let's wait and see. Maybe there will be another opportunity. Chen Ming put on his protective suit again, took some robots from the institute, and returned to the spaceship. There are some empty rooms in the living area of the institute where Chen Ming can bring out some daily necessities or other things. By the way, you can take a look at what the white tea leaves in the tea that Chen Ming just drank are. Chen Ming got on the spaceship and arranged tasks for the robots. He first scanned the tea leaves with the advanced plant analyzer he had used on Reimu. The words "analyzing" appeared on the analyzer's display. A few minutes later, as expected, no relevant plant data was found. Come to think of it, how could a psychic plant be analyzed by an ordinary analyzer that can be found everywhere? Chen Ming put the analyzer aside and opened the panel. The name of the silver-white tea leaves was clearly written on the panel. Young leaves of the fairy tree. Other than that, there was no valuable information. Chen Ming had never heard of the existence of the fairy tree, but he was sure that it must be a psychic plant. Yui could use this thing to make tea for Chen Ming. It must be because they themselves cultivated such a plant, or many such plants. But things related to psychic energy must be valuable, and there was no reason to give Chen Ming this for no reason. Could it be to actively cultivate his psychic energy? Why didn't they show this before? Or is it related to Yu Hui's psychic device? Chen Ming suddenly sighed. He had encountered many problems recently, but only a few of them were solved. He could only keep the problems in his mind and find ways to solve them later. As for now, he had to drink the tea made from the fairy leaves. It was likely to be good for Chen Ming's spiritual power. Yui wouldn't be so bored that he would make this kind of tea to show off his wealth. After moving almost everything, Chen Ming returned to the cafeteria in the living area of the institute to have lunch. He originally wanted to go to the warehouse behind the cafeteria to look for fairy leaves. However, the only place in the living area where Chen Ming felt slight spiritual fluctuations was in the closed area inside the cafeteria. It seemed that the tea leaves were limited, and there were only 6 leaves in a cup of tea. Moreover, when Chen Ming finished drinking the tea and was about to eat the tea leaves together, this little tea was stared at by Xiao Shi, who was watching eagerly. Xiao Shi had found the Whispering Stone directly and accurately in the mechanical clan's mind pulse generator before, and even after a brief contact with the Whispering Stone, there was no problem. Moreover, Xiao Shi's race is a product of a very famous Fanchao laboratory, FC 103 hamster. So Chen Ming thought about it and gave it a piece of tea. Who knows what unexpected surprises there will be? In the following time, Chen Ming continued to wander around the institute, familiarizing himself with various equipment that might be used in the future. And not long after, Chen Ming waited for a communication sent to the spacecraft. After the call was connected, an emotionless voice sounded, "Hello, Mr. Chen Ming. I am G3 who is here to take over the follow-up work of Hui Huang." Well, hello. Time went by in a blink of an eye, and it was the next day. Chen Ming had communicated with Yu Hui, who called himself G3, yesterday. At least for the time being, he didn't see any problems. G3 just took over Hui Huang's work normally. However, after discovering that Chen Ming quickly adapted to the environment of the institute, he started the normal work process directly on the second day. The work tasks were distributed normally, the workload was in the normal range, and the work content was of normal difficulty and even simpler than before. Everything seemed normal. Yu Hui seemed to have just moved Chen Ming to another place and didn't do anything special. Except that before the work really started, G3 asked Chen Ming to go to the experimental area first and found a device that looked very ordinary and Chen Ming had never seen before. It looked like a freezer, but it was semi-open and people could lie on it. There were many complex circuits and devices near the head. What is this? G3 didn't answer and directly sent Chen Ming a document introducing the device in front of him. This device is called a neural overclocker. Through weak currents close to the frequency of biological currents to stimulate the brain and nerves, it can keep people's thinking more active for a certain period of time. This device is not a product of humans, but something left by another civilization. Chen Ming didn't feel any danger from the device, so he lay on the neural overclocker. The overclocker started immediately. In the slight numbness, although Chen Ming didn't feel that his thinking was more active, he did feel that his mental power was fluctuating. Feeling like being revitalized, Chen Ming casually modified some things inside the iron ore. The speed of the modification was slightly improved. It seemed that this effect was caused by the stimulation of the neural overclocker. Chen Ming continued to wait quietly for the equipment to complete its work and then stood back on the ground. He shook his head slightly and looked around. Although there was no clear feeling, it seemed that there were indeed some subtle changes in addition to mental power, and they were good changes. Chen Ming turned his head and looked at the overclocker, thinking about whether there was any way to dismantle it to his ship. But G3 soon came over to urge Chen Ming to start today's task. Chen Ming could only collect his thoughts and start today's work. However, when the work officially started, Chen Ming suddenly felt a lot of unfamiliar things. He and G3 had almost no communication while working. Except for G3 giving the task and proposing the task conditions, there was no communication at all. Although the overall task difficulty was easier than before, when it was really completed, Chen Ming always felt that it would be more comfortable to have Hui Huang around. And Hui Huang would chat with Chen Ming when Chen Ming was working before. Although the content of the chat was mainly about technology, Chen Ming occasionally chatted a few words to try to get Hui Huang to answer or give him reasons for not being able to answer according to the situation. And G3 was like a piece of iron. And there were more differences between it and Hui Huang. The work arranged by G3 even directly occupied Chen Ming's morning work time. It is not like Hui Huang before, who told Chen Ming all the tasks first, and then spent 5 minutes with Chen Ming to complete the tasks. After all, for Chen Ming, the only thing that limits his workload is his mental power, not his time. It is nothing more than the difficult parts that Chen Ming does not understand, and Hui Huang needs to spend a little more time to teach Chen Ming. But now G3 seems to have known the situation of Hui Huang in advance in the task arrangement. He relied on various small and miscellaneous tasks to completely fill the morning time. Although Chen Ming's overall mental power consumption has increased slightly after a morning, the increase in time in Chen Ming's mental fatigue rather than mental fatigue really make him a little bit nervous. Fortunately, the afternoon is still the daily study time, and G3 will not occupy it. It's just that in terms of study, Chen Ming has mastered all the knowledge he can get at present. And he also feels that his current ability is enough to do some things other than study, so there is no need to stick to study. So from the perspective of his current environment, the most suitable thing to do is naturally to carry out research and development work. Chen Ming can develop something useful for him. So Chen Ming directly proposed an early review for the third time. The efficiency of studying while learning more profound knowledge is definitely better than relying on the technology Chen Ming currently has. And the process of this third review was relatively smooth. In addition to G3 not allowing Chen Ming to save time, all the practical tests that require Chen Ming to do have to be completed by himself, which made Chen Ming very uncomfortable, wasting a lot of time for no reason. But Chen Ming still chose to cooperate, because at this point in time, he must be as stable as possible and not do anything out of line. After the review was completed, G3 also gave Chen Ming some new technologies. Basically, they are some in-depth and specialized technologies. The content is still the same as before: energy weapons, radiation energy systems, and shield systems. At the same time, G3 also gave Chen Ming some of the most advanced technologies in these three areas that Yu Hui is currently developing, and all three are technologies on frigates. This is good news for Chen Ming. Although his technology is not a problem for destroyer modification, he is not yet at the point where he can make some moves on destroyers in terms of research and development. In this way, Chen Ming has a reference when doing his own things, instead of having to slowly explore on his own. As for the reason why Chen Ming cannot develop destroyer-related technologies, it is mainly because the technologies of destroyers and frigates are different in level. The technologies of these two are similar to aerospace technology and ground vehicle technology. After in-depth research, the difficulty of the former is definitely higher. Fortunately, the difference between frigates and destroyers is not as great as that between cars and spacecraft. Chen Ming can still make some modifications to destroyers. But destroyers and cruisers are really two different things in different senses, and it really takes a lot of time and energy to learn. But Chen Ming can't get a cruiser at the moment. The technology he has mastered now is enough for his ideas. When he finishes studying these specialized technologies, Yu Hui should give him destroyer-level technology after the next review. But this is a matter for later. Now, Chen Ming still honestly follows the current technology research. As for the object of research in addition to learning, Chen Ming's idea is to conduct research according to the capabilities that his current fleet lacks. Speaking of the capabilities that the fleet lacks, Chen Ming immediately thought of the termination capability of his spacecraft weapons. However, this has been solved after he has the Storm class. The Terminator drone of the Storm is enough to destroy a mule with one shot under normal overload. It is definitely a piece of cake to destroy a frigate with extreme overload. So Chen Ming turned his attention to other important equipment on the spacecraft. For example, the radiation energy system. The overall radiation energy system of Chen Ming's several spacecrafts is actually okay. The two Tachyon technology ships, Fighter Kai and Storm, raise the average radiation energy. So Chen Ming's fleet strength is currently the weakest in two aspects: the number of fleets and ship shields. For the former, Chen Ming can only slowly earn money by robbing pirates to buy spacecraft. However, the latter is now Chen Ming's best goal. The reason is that there is actually no universal optimal design for the shield used by spacecraft to this day, because there are too many things to consider in the design of the shield. Shield strength, shield efficiency, shield deployment speed, shield deployment angle, shield radiation energy consumption, shield energy level protection index, which also includes the protection index of the three main weapons, live ammunition, energy, and missile explosion. In addition, there are various issues such as the recovery time after the shield is broken, whether the coordinated fluctuation of the shield position will affect other spacecraft, etc. Therefore, when designing shields, there is still no universal template within the human empire. Different shields have different effects, and different ships have different requirements. Different companies, different forces, and even different military departments often use different shields. Although the final effect looks similar, and the effect is similar except for military ships, the specific maintenance and operation methods of the shield are quite different. And the shields of the several ships in Chen Ming's hands, especially the Centurion, are not worth looking at. Although the armor performance of the Centurion is indeed very good, the shield cannot be a decoration after all. So Chen Ming thinks that it is a good choice to find a way to get the shield he needs. After all, only he knows what he needs most. And because of Chen Ming's ability, he can try many radical shield design methods. Many valuable but abandoned shield design plans due to risks. Chen Ming knows a lot when he was studying in the company. Even if the designs based on these abandoned proposals have problems, as long as the effect is good enough, Chen Ming dares to use them directly by relying on the repairability. As long as it doesn't explode directly, it can survive a battle by relying on the repairability. Then these things are enough results for Chen Ming. Moreover, Chen Ming has read many related papers in the past, and the papers contain not only these abandoned designs. There are many plans that are of practical value and can obviously be implemented. Chen Ming doesn't have to worry about copyrights or anything like that here with Yu Hui. Just do it when you think of it. In addition to these other people's ideas, Chen Ming also has a lot of ideas in his mind. His graduation thesis design in college was about spacecraft shields. The title is Feasibility Study on Distinguishing Multi-Layer Microdifference Shield Amplitude Frequency in Single-Layer Shields. This is also a good direction. In fact, Chen Ming doesn't have to follow other people's ideas to design spacecraft, such as the design idea of choosing a shield with stronger comprehensive ability because the shield has multiple indicators. Chen Ming doesn't have to follow it at all. He can design multiple types of shields to deal with different situations. When needed, just modify and replace the shield of the spacecraft with the most suitable one. This requires continuous testing and research. Although the Research Institute is well-equipped, Chen Ming alone will definitely not be very efficient. But even if he cannot research a shield that can compare with the common spacecraft shields on the market, the experience in the process is also a good gain for him. With more research experience, there will be a foundation for further development in the future. After thinking it through, Chen Ming started to work directly. The starting direction is naturally Chen Ming's own thesis. He first relied on the excellent memory and learning ability provided by becoming a psychic to recall the content of the original thesis. Rewrite the content of the thesis. At the same time, in the process of writing the thesis, relying on all the knowledge and techniques he has learned since the day of graduation until today, he gradually perfected the previous thesis that he could only read. It took a day for Chen Ming to complete the thesis again. In the next few days, Chen Ming began actual research. Various short tests that need to be conducted during the research, as well as large tests that will need to be coordinated and pre-started in advance. In addition, there are various tasks that Chen Ming needs to complete during the research process, as well as the tasks that Yuhui gives him on a regular basis every day. All these things together completely fill up Chen Ming's schedule for the next few days. And as the date progresses, Chen Ming's remaining time becomes more and more tight. From the second day after starting work, in addition to helping G3 complete his work every day, Chen Ming also needs to cooperate with it to use various psychic equipment in the Institute. As expected, the user was Chen Ming himself. Fortunately, Chen Ming did not feel any danger from these devices. Even after each use, he could feel that his mental power was positively stimulated and became more active. At the same time, there was a slight increase in the use of psychic energy. Yu Hui's actions gave Chen Ming the feeling that they really needed his mental power to grow and his psychic energy to break through. Even on the third day, G3 directly gave Chen Ming a spiritual stone. The name is Spiritual Stone, Despair, which also has negative effects. The size of the stone is very small, only the size of a finger, and the fluctuations it emits are less than 20 centimeters around the stone. Chen Ming feels that this despair stone is stronger than the whispering stone, but lower than the nonsense stone. It may be because of the size, but the stone itself is not important. The important thing is that there is a mind pulse amplification device in the equipment of the Institute. The effect is also very simple, amplifying the effect of the spiritual stone so that it can cover the entire Institute. At the same time, the effect of the spirit stone can be adjusted, enhanced, or weakened until it is adjusted to the level that Chen Ming thinks is appropriate. In this way, he can exercise his spiritual power. Chen Ming took all the benefits given by the afterglow, but he was also extremely vigilant. He drew a deadline in his heart, which was the final date for the arrival of the spiritual energy equipment on the way. Before that, he must take action.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.